The Philadelphia Eagles have seen a resurgence when it comes to their offense, but a lot has to be said about this defense, and Jonathan Gannon deserves a lot of the credit. Or does he? What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. Today I want to talk about this defense, and I want to talk about the change that we've seen from this Eagles defense. Usually it is built on their defensive line. Usually we win in the trenches. That's we get pressure and we go hard after the quarterback. When you look at the first 8 weeks, it didn't feel like we were on that path. We were having historically bad numbers, historically bad games. 5 different quarterbacks being able to throw for over 80% against us. So in this video, I want to kind of break down 3 things that kind of stuck out to me and see if maybe Jonathan Gannon really has this team on the right path. Now, before we get into that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are so close to 3K. But without further ado, let's get into this. Now, the first thing I want to bring up is weeks 1 through 8. Right now, to know where you are, you have to understand where you came from. Now, I want to look at the numbers for this defense. We look at points per game. They were 24th, giving up 26.43 points a game. Huge numbers. First downs per game, 23.9, good for 28th in the league. Their opponent's third down conversion rate was 44.8, and that was 26th in the league. So the defense was just doing terrible. And you start thinking about it, and you're starting to think, why was that? Do the quarterbacks that you played factor into that? Now, I wanted to look at some of the quarterbacks that we played week 1 through 8, and I have to say it might have. Now, you look at the guys we have. We had Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and I threw Derek Carr in there because Derek Carr is having honestly a phenomenal year this year. Look, you went against some of the premier quarterbacks in the league this year, and they were able to torch your defense. You were a young defense. You were still learning what this defense was about, and I understand that some of these guys were veterans. We still had Brandon Graham at that time, but what I mean by young defenses, I mean that you didn't understand what schemes you were going to be running yet. Jonathan Gannon was a brand new coach. You have a whole bunch of young coaches on this staff, so you were still trying to put together the pieces, and then you add to that, you're going against some of the toughest teams. Not to mention, you went against Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, I believe, within 13 days. So you're going against the premier quarterbacks in your first couple weeks, and your first couple weeks as a team together, your first couple real games with this coaching staff. So I wanted to point that out because I want that to kind of be brought to light. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is obviously going to be the next 8 weeks. It really comes down that the turnaround was a philosophy change. It really does come down to that. Jonathan Gannon made a concerted effort to do things to make this team a better defensive team and put them in better positions. And the numbers honestly reflect that. Now, you look at, weeks 1 through 7, 26.7% of the time, which was the worst in the league, we ran man. So only 27% of the time, if we round up, he was running man-to-man. And we saw that, right? We saw huge cushions for offenses as far as the wide receivers went, just getting free 5 yards on a lot of play. We saw that, right? And that number rocketed to 44.4% over these last 8 weeks, and that's good for 17th. He's out there trying to make his players feel more comfortable within the system. We've talked about how Darius Slay feels more comfortable as a man guy. We've talked about how even Steven Nelson, kind of earned his grit as a man guy. So I think that it's smart to do that. And then it goes also with the blitzes. Now, weeks 1 through 7, I know a lot of people were yelling for, we need to blitz. We need to go out there. We need to really, really get this going. And it shows. The number of blitzes in weeks 1 through 7 were 40. We blitzed 40 times weeks 1 through 7. Now that number nearly doubled in these next 8 weeks, and he was able to go ahead and blitz 72 times. So that's huge. It's a philosophy change, right? And we talked about this on the offensive side. It's something that you want to see from your coach. You want to see the ability and the willingness to change your philosophy and your scheme, if you will, to better suit the players that you have. And I think that Jonathan Gannon has been able to do that. Now, if you compare the weeks 1 through 8 numbers to the 8 through 16 numbers, I already said the weeks 1 through 8, but you see a huge turnaround. We're able to go from 24th in points per game to now 4th at 16.63 points per game, going from 28th on first downs, opponents' first downs per game, going from 28th to now 8th for 18.1 per game. And then you got opponent third down percentage, and that goes from 26th to 8th. You're going to 36.3%. So you see these numbers going down. You see it starting to work. You're seeing a different type of defense. Now you look at the guys that we played, and you have to look at the weeks 8 through 16 quarterbacks. We've had, luckily, a lot of easy quarterbacks to go over, so you have to kind of factor that into the numbers and really take that into account. But it is still good to see your coach and your players doing the job that they're supposed to do. You can't control who you play. This isn't college football. You don't get to pick your schedule, so it is what it is. You play the guys that are on your schedule, and you beat the guys that are on your schedule, and our defense has been able to do that. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is not necessarily a philosophy, not necessarily a coach, not necessarily a position group. It's going to be one player. It's going to be TJ Edwards. And the question becomes, is TJ Edwards real? Is TJ Edwards the real deal? And if you look at his numbers now, look, I knew TJ Edwards was doing good, on the field. You can feel it. You can see it. You can see the difference between him and Eric Wilson, right? Ever since he's taken over that middle linebacker spot, I feel the linebackers have played immensely better, and the numbers have shown it. Look, we're 6-2 since he's come on at week 8. That's a huge number. And I know the competition hasn't been the greatest, but at the end of the day, again, you play the team, you beat the team, and that's all you can ask for. But as a team, the defensive grade went from 56.8, which was 25th in the league, all the way up to 75.1, which is 5th currently. That's a huge jump. That's a huge jump. Another part of it, and I talked about this early on in the video, is that we were built kind of on our trenches, on our defensive line. If you look at the opposing rushing yards, that's an indicator of what we were able to do with this front seven. Earlier on in the year, we were giving up 133 yards per game to the opposers' rushers, and that was good for 29th in the league, damn near bottom. Right now, we're in 2nd place, giving up 79.8 in the last 8 weeks. Now, we've played some good rushing offenses. I will say that while the quarterbacks we've played have not been great, we've played some good running backs, in my opinion. We played Saquon, we played Antonio Gibson, and that's just within the division. Whatever you want to say about Saquon being a little bit rusty right now, but Antonio Gibson's had a great year, and we were able to hold him, I think, to less than 40 yards. And then you look at the tackles, man. Look, TJ Edwards is now the 3rd highest rated linebacker since week 8 for PFF. His ranking is 82.7, and he also ranks 6th in tackles in that span. TJ Edwards is one of those guys that I'm really going to keep on looking at. I'm really going to try and investigate and see if this guy is real, because if he is, the Eagles might have something at linebacker, and we might need one less. I still feel like we might need a guy out there that can be a playmaker, but I like what I see out of TJ Edwards. I wish that we had Davion Taylor out there, because I would love to see what he could be doing alongside somebody like a TJ Edwards. But in conclusion, man, look, I think that this defense is starting to mold something. Do I think that they're fully there yet? No, I really don't. I don't know if they're fully there yet. I think there's still stuff they got to work on. There's still some holes in this defense that they got to work on. They got to fill, whether it be through draft, whether it be through the offseason, free agency, trade, whatever it may be. There's still holes to fill, but I have to look at Jonathan Gannon and give him his kudos. I think that not enough has been said about the turnaround of this defense, philosophy-wise and just production-wise. They have become a different defense than we are used to seeing from the first 7 weeks, and I think the numbers prove it. So you guys let me know, what do you think? Do you feel like Jonathan Gannon is not getting the proper respect? There's apparently a lot of people are saying that he might be a coaching candidate, so that'll be interesting to watch. But you guys let me know what you're thinking in the comments. Other than that, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace!
Everywhere, this is for
you.
Fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown, time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man soft. Jackson like Deshaun, hunting like Randall. Season hit, early time to do 'em in. Your boy Philly Fresco, thanks for tuning in.